My name is Rolf Jansson, and I've been the CEO of Aspo Group for approximately 2.5 years. Very nice to be here presenting the company. Short about Aspo, we have more than 90 years of history. Last year, it was a record year, 650 million euros of net sales, 55 million euros of operating profit. We are basically in the business of developing industrial platforms. Currently, we have 3 businesses, which I will come back to: ESL Shipping, Telko, and Leipurin. We've been listed on the stock exchange here in Helsinki since 1999. Dividend payments over the past 10 years, approximately 5%. We have 3 businesses: ESL Shipping, which is basically a leading dry bulk cargo company here in the Baltic Sea region, serving the metal industry, forest industries, etc., with very long contracts. Telko, it's in the supply chain of chemicals, lubricants, and plastics. And then Leipurin, who is serving the food industry and the bakeries, primarily here in the Nordic countries, with raw materials and ingredients. A lot has happened over the past a bit more than 2 years of time. So basically, we sold 3 businesses they were too small to be interesting for Aspo. At the same time, we exited the Russian market, which had approximately 100 million euros of net sales in Aspo prior to that. We made 4 acquisitions over the past 2 years, 3 in Telko and 1 in Leipurin. We invested in 12 electric hybrid coaster vessels, and then we also done things with the balance sheet, a hybrid loan, a pooling financing structure, etc. So a lot has happened over the past 2.5 years. Our targets are the following. We have an operating profit target of 8%, more than 5% of growth each year, a return on equity of about 20%. And how do we then deliver this? It's basically maximizing the value of the existing businesses. It's securing that we allocate resources in the businesses that give the best return. And then we need to make sure that our balance sheet supports the strategies of our businesses. Sustainability is a very integrated part of what Aspo does, and the ambition is to be a forerunner in sustainability in all of our businesses. Maybe the best example is ESL Shipping, where we really try to be in the forefront of investing into new technology. When it comes to Telko and Leipurin, on the environmental side, it's more about making an energy-efficient supply chain. On the social side, it's very much about safety, and then about supplier, customer, and personnel satisfaction. All of these measures, I think, we're really strong here at Aspo. And governance, I would compromise that into continuous improvement, risk management, sustainability, etc. A brief look at our financials. Q3, 7.4 million euros of operating profit, more than doubled compared to Q2 2023. And the good news is that all businesses delivered a lot better results than in the previous quarter. ESL Shipping, typically the volumes are a bit slower during summer, and now we start then during Q3 and Q4 see the volumes picking up, more energy, more grain, etc., which is good news for us. Telko tripled their profit in Q3 compared to Q2. Basically, we saw stabilized prices in market prices in plastics and chemicals, and then also the full impact for all the cost efficiency actions and acquisitions that we've done in Q3, or the impact we saw stabilizing in Q3. Leipurin, best quarter ever, Q3 2023. I mentioned that we were quite strong in Russia still prior to the war in Ukraine. And on the right-hand side here, you can see the kind of historical profit of Aspo without the business of Russia. So basically, in average, we made some 14 million euros of operating profit. And this year, despite the fairly challenging business environment, we're guiding 25 to 30 million euros. So this really shows that our core business is doing well, and it also shows that we've been able to exit a quite substantial business of Aspo without any damages. Then if I jump into the businesses and a bit of the kind of value drivers we have here, and I will start with ESL Shipping. ESL Shipping, the strategy is basically based on the fact that the industrial companies in the Nordics, in the metal industry, in the forest industry, are investing tens of billions of euros into a green transition. And we're sure that they also want fossil-free and environmentally friendly shipping, and hence we invest in new technologies to support their green transition. So ESL, it's basically a really good example of ESG-driven growth as a strategy. We, as said, already invested in 12 electric hybrid vessels. The first one will actually come to Finland in beginning of next year. And we used a pooling structure when investing in these 12 hybrid vessels. Basically, half of the vessels were financed by external investors via a pool structure, then outside our balance sheet. We communicated in spring this year that to facilitate this tremendous growth opportunity that we have in ESL, we will look for additional pooling structures. We will also look into the opportunity for example, infra fund to take a minority share in ESL Shipping. And then we have two larger vessels, Supramax vessels, which are more in the spot market, which is not really core of ESL. We're more into the long-term partnerships with our customers. And just a couple of weeks ago, we then came out with the news that Finnish infra fund, OP Finland Infrastructure, will take approximately 15% share in ESL Shipping, and this was derived via valuation of 300 million euros enterprise value. So basically, they will inject 30 million euros into ESL to finance this growth. This is a very major step in ESL's history and also in Aspo's development path. Then if I continue with Telko, a distributor of chemicals, plastics and lubricants, we see this as a very interesting opportunity here in Europe. It's a very fragmented market still, and we envision that Telko will develop over the next couple of years a total net sales of more than 500 million euros. And that goes both via organic growth, basically focusing on the specialty products where there's a strong trend of outsourcing distribution and also healthy underlying demand. And in addition, we will compound this growth, so continue to make acquisitions. And Telko is really a core business of Aspo, very light balance sheet, strong opportunity to grow both organically and non-organically, and very good return considering the EBIT level. We've done 3 acquisitions over the past 2 years in the Baltics. Mentum, it was approximately 10 million euros. of revenue, and that was lubricants. Then Johan Stengs in Norway, distributor of plastics, 5 million euros, and then approximately 10 million euros in Poland of net sales. Eltrex, which is a distributor of specialty chemicals. And we will continue to do this, both kind of new growth platforms, bigger acquisitions, as well as smaller add-on acquisitions, which then will give us good synergies. Then last but not least, Leipurin, and Leipurin did a major acquisition in Sweden a bit more than a year ago, basically acquiring more than 50 million euros of revenue. So very kind of good strategic move, exiting Russia, which had 25 million euros of revenue, into Sweden, doubled the size of this business compared to what we lost in Russia. Extremely good synergies between the Swedish and the Finnish and the Baltic businesses. For example, we serve suppliers on a more wider geographical area. We sell Swedish products here in Finland and vice versa. There's also a lot of opportunities when it comes to developing commercial, what we sell, at what price, making the supply chain more efficient, looking for pockets in the market where we can grow, for example, ready products, frozen products, etc. So a lot of opportunities still to improve the profitability of Leipurin. One major step for Leipurin has also been, behind the success, has been to focus down the business. And we got some real estate when we acquired the business in Sweden. We sold these and leased them back and released capital for investing in our core business. We also sold let's say equipment trading business, freezers, ovens, etc. We don't feel that this is the core of Leipurin. Leipurin is more focused on food ingredients to the bakery and food industries. So this was also a successful move from a strategic perspective. Then to summarize it, Aspo is in good shape. Looking at the Q3 numbers, double the profitability, strong cash flow of all the three businesses, and good profitability development. And that also goes for the kind of future guidance of the remaining of this year. We see ESL Shipping benefiting from the growth in volumes of its customers. We see Telko benefiting from the more stabilized pricing, and we see Leipurin getting more impact from all the performance improvement measures that are being done. And finally, I think very clear strategies of each business. So ESL Shipping, very much into ESG-driven growth, investing in the electric hybrid vessels, in the future in totally fossil-free vessels, e-methanol, etc. Telko, the more typical compounding strategy, very growth-focused to get good returns. And then Leipurin, very much focused on improving profitability. This was a brief capture of Aspo. Thanks.
Thank you, Rolf, for presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have tons of questions. Luckily, we have some time. The first one, you're investing heavily on shipping. Why do you believe that is the best use of shareholder money, as the industry is very competitive and it's very hard to differentiate in that industry?
I think this is a very good question, and I actually come back to what I just said. So based on our analysis, there's a tremendous market growth in the addressable market of ESL Shipping, because the companies are investing basically billions of euros in new energy production and then in this more kind of sustainable production. And the fact being is that ESL Shipping has a very strong market position today, and we want to develop that further going forward. So we need to invest. And then it's basically, we still also need to invest in the other businesses. So that's why we look at these opportunities, selling a minority stake, doing pooling structures, and then selling out our Supramax vessels. So at the end of the day, it's both and. So we have strong belief in ESL. We want to develop that position, but at the same time, for example, in Telko, we see tremendous non-organic growth opportunities, which we will want to pursue.
There's more questions about capital allocation. One more question about ESL, that is the dominant market position that brings you maybe pricing power or competitive edge, or what are the sources of competitive edge that you see it wise to invest more in ESL?
I would say that ESL's position builds purely on or primarily on two things. One is the long customer partnerships that we have. So we've been serving these clients for years and years, and they trust us in delivering good quality. And then I would say the other great competence that we possess is really around operations and technology in this, let's say, still niche market, because we have harsh ice conditions, etc., and we know how to operate in the Baltic Sea region. So primarily, I would say these two aspects give us some competitive edge.
Conglomerate structures are fairly uncommon nowadays. So why do you want to maintain that sort of status?
I would actually disargue that it's not a typical conglomerate structure. So it's more about active ownership in having these industrial platforms, developing them long term. And then naturally, if there's some business who does not fit into our ownership, then we need to kind of reassess and see who's the best owner for that business. But I would more say that this is a kind of a compounder structure which aims to get a kind of resilient cash flow and profit out of the business.
Exactly. Of course, you now have three main businesses and you're investing all those different segments. So how do you avoid misallocation of capital if you have so many places to invest?
Yeah, and it's of course extremely important if our target is return on equity of about 20%, we need to make the right investments, and we have very careful processes for that. That goes for the M&As, a very analytical approach in addition to the more kind of softer aspects of the acquisitions. The CapEx investments in ESL Shipping, which we will not handle alone, but together with other sources of finance. And then we continuously also need to make sure that our businesses deliver when it comes to profit, because that's the best way to finance the future growth.
Why do you have the dividend while you clearly believe that you have excellent businesses to invest more? Can't you just cut the dividend and invest more in the businesses?
Of course, this is something that the board assesses on a continuous basis. So far, it has been possible to combine both. And if I look at our owners, I'm sure that they appreciate the dividend, but at the same time, they appreciate the growth and the profit in the future. So it's a balancing act. And so far, looking at the past 10 years, we've been able to pay an approximately 5% dividend, which is on a fairly decent level, I would say.
As we saw in your presentation, Aspo's profitability has dropped significantly from the levels of 2021 and 22. Do you see the current level as the new normal, or do you expect a recovery to the historical levels?
I think we need to take a bit of a more longer perspective when looking at this. So even if we include Russia in our historical figures, the guidance of this year, 25 to 30 million euros, is approximately at least 5 million euros above the historical average. And then if you exclude Russia, then we're at least 10 million euros above the historical average. Then it's true that we have had 2 extremely good years, supported by an extreme marketing, shipping, deficit of capacity, etc., the turbulence around Russia. So I don't think these 2 years are the right kind of comparison. So I think the business is doing really good. And then going forward, hey, we have an 8% EBIT target. Our current performance is not at that level. If you look at the Q1 to Q3 performance, we have a growth target of about 5% per year. So there's only one way to go, and that's up.
Thanks, Rolf, for interesting answers and for interesting presentation as well. I'd like to invite next presentation, F-Secure, on stage.